The United States Air Force, USAF, is sending 6 B-52H Stratofortress strategic bombers to the island of Diego Garcia, located in the central Indian Ocean. Citing an unnamed U.S. official, U.S. military news said that 6 B-52s will be available for operations against Iran if ordered. Their deployment, however, does not signal that military operations have been ordered. The U.S. Department of Defense, DoD, did not officially confirm the dispatch of the bombers, citing operational security concerns. Diego Garcia is located more than 4,800 kilometers or 3,000 miles from the southern edge of Iran, which would put the U.S. airbase on the island out of range of medium-range ballistic missiles launched from Iran. The USAF currently operates 58 B-52H long-range heavy strategic bombers. The B-52H is capable of flying at high subsonic speeds at altitudes of up to 50,000 feet. That's 15,166.6 meters, and can carry nuclear cruise missiles and a conventional payload of up to 70,000 pounds, or 31,500 kilograms. Under the 2010 New Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, 41 B-52Hs have been denuclearized. The denuclearized variant of the B-52H carries JASSM AGM-158B Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missile and JASSM-ER Extended Range, Long Range Radar Evading Cruise Missiles, whereas nuclear-capable bombers carry the nuclear-tipped AGM-86 Air-Launched Cruise Missile, as explained previously. The USAF also operates B-52Hs out of Andersen Air Force Base on Guam in the Western Pacific. B-52Hs from Guam have conducted numerous patrols over the East and South China Seas in 2019. B-52H bomber flights involving the East China and South China Seas are routinely criticized by China, which claims territory in both waters. USAF B-52H bomber units have been deployed to Guam on a rotational basis since January 2018, following a 17-month break as part of U.S. Indo-Pacific Command's continuous bomber presence in the region. USAF has been routinely stationing B-1B, B-52H, and B-2 Spirit bombers at Andersen Air Force Base since 2004. Military and diplomatic tensions between the United States and Iran have been heating up in recent days. Iran launched over a dozen ballistic missiles against 2 air bases hosting U.S. troops in Iraq overnight, declaring that the strikes were in retaliation for last week's killing of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif said in a message on social media last night, "Iran took and concluded proportionate measures in self-defense under Article 51 of UN Charter, targeting base from which cowardly armed attack against our citizens and senior officials were launched. We do not seek escalation or war, but will defend ourselves against any aggression." U.S. President Donald Trump is expected to address the American public on the ongoing Iran crisis later today.
As long as I'm President of the United States, Iran will never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon.
Several nuclear-capable B-52s are heading to the region along with an aircraft carrier task force following what the Defense Department called recent and clear indications that Iranian and Iranian proxy forces were making preparations to possibly attack U.S. forces. The deployment of USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group and a bomber task force are considered a prudent step in response to indications of heightened Iranian readiness to conduct offensive operations against U.S. forces and our interests, said acting Pentagon spokesman Charles Summers in a statement. "We emphasize the White House statement that we do not seek war with the Iranian regime, but we will defend U.S. personnel, our allies, and our interests in the region." The deployment was first announced late Sunday by John Bolton, President Donald Trump's national security advisor, who said the move was a clear and unmistakable message to the Iranian regime that any attack on the United States' interests or on those of our allies will be met with unrelenting force. The U.S. move comes in response to intelligence about a threat orchestrated by Iran, officials said, but details of the threat have not been disclosed. Navy Captain Bill Urban, the spokesman for the U.S. Military Central Command, which spans the Middle East, said the threat could be land-based or maritime. He said the Lincoln Strike Group was already scheduled to head to the region on long-planned deployment, but that its arrival in the Gulf has been accelerated due to the threat. That led to the cancellation of a planned port visit by the Lincoln to Split, Croatia. The multinational carrier group, including several ships, multiple types of aircraft, and 6,000 personnel, will be deployed where it will be best able to protect U.S. forces and interests in the region and to deter any aggression. The deployment comes a year after Trump pulled the United States out of a multinational accord under which Tehran drastically scaled back its sensitive nuclear network. Since then, the Trump administration has ramped up menacing rhetoric against Iran while tightening economic sanctions on the country. The U.S. military previously had sent a bomber task force to Qatar in May, but the bombers left after a few months, a U.S. defense official said. On Monday, Defense Secretary Mark Esper and General Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, attempted to quell confusion about a letter circulating from the U.S. military telling Iraq that it would withdraw troops from the region a day after Iraqi lawmakers approved a resolution calling to expel U.S. troops from the country. Both Esper and Milley called the unsigned letter a mistake and said the U.S. had no intention of withdrawing troops from the Middle East as tensions ramped up.
The American people should be extremely grateful and happy. No Americans were harmed in last night's attack by the Iranian regime. We suffered no casualties. All of our soldiers are safe, and only minimal damage was sustained at our military bases. Our great American forces are prepared for anything. Iran appears to be standing down, which is a good thing for all parties concerned and a very good thing for the world. Iran has been the leading sponsor of terrorism, and their pursuit of nuclear weapons threatens the civilized world. We will never let that happen. Last week, we took decisive action to stop a ruthless terrorist from threatening American lives. At my direction, the United States military eliminated the world's top terrorist, Qasem Soleimani. As the head of the Quds Force, Soleimani was personally responsible for some of the absolutely worst atrocities. Trained terrorist armies, including Hezbollah, launching terrorist strikes against civilian targets.